Today's Wednesday, October 27th. And as I think about what to lead us in each week during these pause and listens, I try to be sensitive to the Lord's leading. What has He laid on my heart that He wants me to share with you? And often it relates to a way that we can respond to what we have looked at in the Scriptures on Sunday morning. This week's a little bit different. As I went to jot down some notes this morning, the title of an email in my inbox caught my eye. Hearing God, but hijacking the conversation. The title was Hearing God, but hijacking the conversation. And I thought, since these pause and listens are meant to encourage conversations with God, I thought I better check it out. And it was really good. The article is terrific. I've put a link to the full article in the email that I sent you that linked you to this video. And the author, Sam Williamson, encouraged us to consider how we hijack our conversations with God. His starting point was when Paul prayed in Colossians 1:9 that believers would be filled with the knowledge of His will. And the key word there that I want to focus on is His. Paul prayed that we are to be filled up with knowing and understanding God's will. And I think that's a really good prayer for us, because we know that often we are asking God to bring our will into reality. I want answers to my questions, and when I may not even be asking the right question. I'm asking for God's help with my plans and my agenda, and I want my needs taken care of. And Sam says, and I quote from his article, "It's not that God doesn't want to answer us, He does. But our fixation on our agendas deafen us to His messages. It's like asking God for instruction on how to redo a closet in our house when He's building a mansion next door for us. There we are, shopping for doorknobs for our closet." If God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good, won't He also know what is best for us? Yet we hijack the conversation, certain that our narrow-minded questions are exactly what we need. For example, there's a fork in the road ahead and we ask, should I turn right or turn left? And God answers, turn around. Or maybe a ball is curving its way towards us. God, should I swing at this pitch? And God says, you're playing soccer. Or maybe a young man prays and begs for guidance. Should I ask this girl to marry me? And God rolls His eyes. Hey, you're only 8-year-old boy. Go outside and climb a tree. And besides, if God is so wise and powerful that we need His help, we must also be wise enough to do the things that we can't understand. We can't have it both ways. If He's beyond us in power and goodness, then He must, by definition, act in ways that will bewilder us sometimes. There are times when we are desperate to know God's will, but He is silent, maybe for a long time. And God's silence seems criminal to us. His seemingly lack of guidance is absolutely agonizing sometimes. Sam goes on to say that the entire book of Job is dedicated to the topic of conversational hijacking. The first 29 verses give a thumbnail sketch of a brief season in Job's life. And the next 36 chapters paint multiple pictures of people hijacking the discussion. For example, Job keeps asking, Why, God, did you allow this to happen? And his friends keep telling Job that he must be a miserable loot. No one actually seeks God's will in that story, neither Job nor his counselors, because they are so caught up in their own dogmatic agendas. Finally, the youngest counselor speaks a word from God that breaks the conversational deadlock. He tells Job to stop controlling the conversation. He tells Job to stop controlling the conversation. He says, "O Job, stand still and consider the wonderful works of God." That's Job 37:14. God never answers Job's question, "Why did you do this?" God never breathes a hint of an echo or of a shadow of an answer. He does something else instead. When Job gives conversational control back to God, Job simply sees God reveal himself. When he does see God, he drops all his pretentious control and he responds, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." That's Job 42:5. And in seeing God, Job is completely satisfied. Completely satisfied. He never needed an answer he thought he needed. He needed God alone. We can hijack the conversation, or we can have God himself. And I say, Sam, thanks for the reminder. I needed that. One of the things that we can do to grow in our conversations with God is to ask him to reveal when we in the past have hijacked the conversation with him. Ask him to show us if we have a habit of controlling the conversation. And I think that word hijack is a really good one. And I'd encourage you just to take some time, even right now or very soon, to just pause and listen to the Lord and just refrain from hijacking the conversation or trying to control it in any way. Let God speak.